Black Education, Myths and Tragedies, 1972, and Late Talking Children, 1997. True, assessing someone's work while neglecting his personal character entirely is next to impossible, and in this case would be a great disservice to the reader. Sowell was born in rural North Carolina in 1930 to a family with no electricity or running hot water. His father died before he was born, and his mother, a maid, passed away giving birth to his younger brother a few years later. The orphan Sowell was taken in by a great-aunt, who raised him as her son and hid from him the fact that he was adopted and had a sister and 4 brothers. The family relocated, first to Charlotte, North Carolina, and later, when Sowell was 8 years old, to New York City's Harlem neighborhood, where he was raised thereafter. A bright student with a tumultuous home life, Sowell was admitted to one of New York's most competitive high schools, but dropped out at age 16. He left home a year later, after a magistrate labeled him a wayward minor, and moved into a shelter in the Bronx for homeless boys, where he kept a knife under his pillow at night for protection. He took whatever jobs were available at the time, messenger, laborer, for a black high school dropout with few marketable skills. At one point, he was so destitute that the foreman at a machine shop where he worked lent him money to buy food. For a full decade, Sowell received his education from the School of Hard Knocks, as he put it. He didn't get around to earning a college degree until he was already in his late 20s and had served in the Marines, where he had attended photography school and taught pistol shooting. Sowell explains in his memoir that these events from early in his life had a profound impact on his development as a scholar and his subsequent thinking about public policy. In retrospect, even my misfortunes were in some ways fortunate, for they taught me things that would be hard to understand otherwise, and they presented reality from an angle not given to those, among intellectuals especially, whose careers have followed a more straight-line path in familiar grooves, he writes. I have lived through experiences which they can only theorize about. This type of experience mattered more to Sowell than abstract theory. His early struggles to make a life for himself meant daily contact with people who were neither well-educated nor particularly genteel, but who had practical wisdom far beyond what I had, he recalls. It gave me a lasting respect for the common sense of ordinary people, a factor routinely ignored by the intellectuals among whom I would later make my career. This was a blind spot in much of their social analysis, which I did not have to contend with. In this volume, I draw from those recollections, as well as from interviews I conducted with Sowell's friends and colleagues and from my own conversations with him, to present what I hope is a well-rounded assessment. Nevertheless, this is primarily an intellectual biography, meaning that my focus is on the author's scholarly output, not his life story. And as often as possible, I let Sowell make his arguments in his own voice, since one could hardly improve on it. The first time I heard his name was in college in the early 1990s, during a discussion about affirmative action. Someone remarked that I sounded like Thomas Sowell, to which I responded, "Who's that?" My interlocutor suggested that I read Sowell's Civil Rights, Rhetoric or Reality, a book published in 1984 to mark the 30th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark Brown v. Board of Education decision, and the 20th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I fetched a copy from the school library and read it in a single sitting that evening. My response was similar to the novelist Richard Wright's after reading H.L. Mencken for the first time. I was jarred and shocked by the style, the clear, clean, sweeping sentences, Wright wrote. Why did he write like that? And how did one write like that? I read on, and what amazed me was not what he said, but how on earth anyone had the courage to say it. Sowell's writing is lucid and pithy and confident. He combines wide learning and common sense and makes it look easy. He avoids sanctimony and sentimentality, even when addressing emotional topics such as race.